We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Hey! There's a tape recorder here.
See what's on it.
This is the Panasonic RQ-706S solid state 2-track reel-to-reel tape recorder from the late 60s, also known as the reel-to-reel player from The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. So if you listen to the podcast, you probably heard me say that I recently pre-ordered an Evil Dead pinball machine, so I thought it would be cool to get the reel-to-reel player and put it next to the machine. So I picked this one up off of eBay, mostly working. So I took it apart, cleaned the tape heads, lubricated some of the mechanisms, and now it is working just fine. So I've got various reels that I've picked up as well, so I can swap these out and make it look like either the Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. So right now I've got it in Evil Dead 2 mode, although in Evil Dead 2, these two rubber pieces actually aren't on the machine, so we'll take those off. Then I went through both movies, The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and watched all of the scenes with Professor Knowby and his recordings on the reel-to-reel. I extracted those and then edited them in Logic and made a little loop that contains the readings and incantations from both movies so that I could just have those on a loop. So let's check that out.
It's been a number of years since I began excavating the ruins of Kandar with a group of my colleagues. Now my wife and I have retreated to a small cabin in the solitude of these mountains. Here I continued my research undisturbed by the myriad distractions of modern civilization and far from the groves of academe. I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian ruins, a volume of ancient Sumerian burial practices and funerary incantations. It is entitled Naturan de Manto, roughly translated, Book of the Dead. The book is bound in human flesh and inked in human blood. It deals with demons, demon resurrection, and those forces which roam the forest and dark bowers of man's domain. The first few pages warn that these enduring creatures may lie dormant, but are never truly dead. They may be recalled to active life through the incantations presented in this book. It is through recitation of these passages that the demons are given license to possess the living. Tatra amistrobin hazarta. Tatir mano mansizon hazan sobar. Saman la robza. Dar his hiker dans de rodza. Kanda. Kanda! I know now that my wife has become host to a Kandarian demon. I fear that the only way to stop those possessed by the spirits of the book is through the act of bodily dismemberment. I would leave now to avoid this horror, but for myself, I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
This is Professor Raymond Knowby, Department of Ancient History, log entry number 2. I believe I have made a significant find in the castle of Kandar. Having journeyed there with my wife Henrietta, my daughter Annie, and Associate Professor Ed Getley. It was in the rear chamber of the castle that we stumbled upon something remarkable. Naturam de Monto, the book of the dead. My wife and I brought the book to this cabin, where I could study it undisturbed. It was here that I began the translations. The book speaks of a spiritual presence, a thing of evil that roams the forests and the dark bowers of man's domain. It is through the recitation of the book's passages that this dark spirit is given license to possess the living. Recorded here are the phonetic pronunciations of those passages. Kanda, Estrata, Amantos,
Diegrex, Gat, Nosferatus, Kanda, Amantos, Kanda.
It's only been a few hours since I've translated and spoken aloud the first of the demon resurrection passages from the Book of the Dead. And now I fear that my wife has become host to a Kandarian demon. May God forgive me for what I have unleashed unto this earth. Last night, Henrietta tried to kill me. It's now October 1st. 4:33 p.m. Henrietta is dead. I could not bring myself to dismember her corpse, but I dragged her down the steps, and I buried her. I buried her in the cellar. God help me, I buried her in the earthen floor of the fruit cellar.